So now that we've been talking about if-then statements for a while, we're going to delve into Boolean data types. So we've been looking at expressions that are Boolean, that are true or false. But there are times when you want to declare a variable or return a value that is true or false. And this is a Boolean type. And so we can declare variables that are Boolean. So like here, we're declaring integer user number equals 0. So in the same way, we can declare a variable that's Boolean. We just say Boolean instead of int. The name is negative or is large, and then equals, and then true or false. So true and false are built-in constants here. Notice they're not in quotes or anything like that. They're just like 0 or 24. They're just values. So you can just say something is equal to false or equal to true, and it's like saying if it's less than 100 or equal to 24. So you can just use true and false without any quotes or anything around them. Okay, so we declare a Boolean value and we set it equals to something. So like here we're saying if we're going to check if the this user number that the user enters is large. So if the user number is really large negative number, less than minus 100, or if it's a really large positive number greater than 100, then we're going to set user large, which is a Boolean, to true, else we set user large to false. So that's one way of doing this. And then later on we can use this in an expression. We can say things like if is large, and again, is large is a true or false thing. So I don't necessarily have to say if is large equal to true. I can say that, but we can just say things like if is large. Now when you're first using these Boolean values, it gets confusing and you don't find them all that useful. But after you do more programming and used to them, you'll see them coming up more often. We often will have methods that will use Boolean values. So in fact, even later on this week, we'll be working on a GUI problem in the assignments and the learning exercise. And there'll be radio buttons or check boxes in this. And in order to see if this button is checked, we'll call a method. We'll say like button1 dot is checked. And is checked will be a method that will return true or false. It'll be a Boolean value for that. So that's one example where we would use this. I'm teaching a game design course right now, and we're using these Booleans. The game engine we use right now uses these Booleans a lot. So like we're using a network game, and we often have to check if the user is on the local network. So we write something like if user is local, so and so. Or if a bullet is colliding with an enemy, we'll say things like if bullet dot is colliding with, and check that. And again, we have these methods or these values that will return Boolean values, true or false. Often these values and variables, we use the is something, is large or is negative, is colliding, is local. It's just, it doesn't have to be that way, but again, when we're often thinking of Boolean things, we're often phrasing this kind of as a question that is positive or negative. So is large kind of asks the question, is this large? And if so, it's either true or false is the answer. So you don't always have to, you certainly don't have to name your Boolean variables is something, but a lot of people do that just to help. Now let's look at another way of assigning Boolean variables. Here we say is negative, and rather than putting in if then, we just assign it to an expression that's either true or false. So I'm going to open this up in Zybooks and look at a slightly different way of doing this and try to explain how this works. So we could write this way. We could write if user number is less than 0, if the number the user entered is less than 0, then is negative is true, because if it's less than 0, it is negative. Otherwise, is negative is false. And so we're asking if this is true, set is negative to true. If this is false, set is negative to false. But notice what we're doing is we're saying we're always setting this variable equal to this. If this is true, we set it to true. If this is false, we set it to false. So we can shortcut that, and we don't need to use an if-then with this. We can just say is negative is equal to this expression, which is either true or false. So we can say is negative is equal to that expression. So we can get rid of this. This we don't need. We just need to use this as a shortcut. So again, when you're first doing Booleans, you will often write things like this, and we'll point out some other ways in the coming weeks where you write things or might check if something's equal to true or something like that. When you get more experience, you'll learn some shortcuts, or things like this will make more sense. But see if you can get your head around this idea that this is a true-false Boolean variable, and this is an expression which is true-false. So we can set this variable equal to this expression. Okay, let's jump back here, go through. So again, they walk you through some exercises with this and have a challenge activities. This is a good challenge activity. I suggest you do that. I'm going to walk you through a solution to this just to show you some options. So first, what is this doing? We're going to check if a teenager, if given a kid's age, a variable kid age, we're going to check if this person is a teenager, and we're going to set is teenager, which is a Boolean, to either true or false. So if the kid's age is greater than or equal to 13 and less than or equal to 19, so 13 and 19 inclusive, then is teenager should be true. So you might start out with something like this. Well, why don't you just try it, see if you understand it. I'll give you an incorrect solution to start with. Okay, so here's my first attempt, and it doesn't work. I'm checking if the kid age is greater than or equal to 13. I'm going, and there could be a teenager, so I'm setting is teenager equal to true. And if the kid's age is less than or equal to 19, I'm setting is teenager equal to true also. But these are separate ifs, and so this doesn't work. If I run this, some of the tests will fail. So it works on the first one if the kid's 13, but for other kids' ages, this doesn't work. So why don't you work on this, see if you can modify it, and you can pause this video, work on it a little bit, and then play it, and I'll show you the solution, or at least one of a number of solutions here. Okay, so here's one solution. Let's see, is this the solution you came up with? Did you get this to work? So I'm saying if the kid age is greater than or equal to 13 and the kid age is less than or equal to 19. So checking both this, greater than or equal to 13 and less than or equal to 19, then I'm setting is teenager equal to true. Else I'm setting is teenager equal false. So that's one solution. If I run that, that will give me all the pass all the tests here. But that's certainly not the only solution. I'm going to show you another one with a couple ifs, and I'm going to try to show you one without any ifs. If you got this relatively easily, see if you can write a solution without any if statements. So I finally got this working with getting rid of some of my syntax errors here. I'm always missing up brackets, so make sure you're and parentheses when you're writing these if-then statements. You watch your parentheses and watch where you're beginning and ending brackets correctly. So if it gets down and says there's an error down here, that usually means you have some bracketing problem up above. Okay, so here's my second solution. I've commented out the previous one. And I'm going to first check if the kid's age is less than 13, then they're not a teenager. I know that right away. I don't have to check anything else. I can just say is teenager equals false. And if they're more than 19, here, if the kid's age is greater than 19, then again, they're not a teenager. If they're 24, they're not a teenager. So I said is teenager to false. And I'm using now, here I had one if, now I'm using if, else, else. So if they're not less than 13 and they're not greater than 19, then they are a teenager, then they fall in that range. So here I'm able to do this with this sort of if and else situation. So again, these are perfectly good solutions here. But you can, like I say, you can also do this without any if-then statements. So I'll show you that solution next. So here's my last attempt. I've commented out the first one and the second one. Now in this first one, it hints to what the final solution is that I have. here I asked if the kid's age is greater than or equal to 13 and the kid's age is less than or equal to 19. If that is true, we set is teenager to true. If this expression is false, then we set is teenager to false. So we're always setting is teenager to whatever this value is, this expression is. So I can just do that directly. I can just say is teenager equals kid's age greater than or equal to 13 and kid age less than or equal to 19. That's going to be a true or false expression, and is teenager will be set to that. So this will also work. So again, there's 3 different solutions. Again, I think until you get more into Boolean expressions, this one's going to be hard to understand. But hopefully one of these will be understandable. And as you get more into Boolean expressions, things like this will make more sense. Okay, so finish up this section and we'll go on to the next section.